Torres Strait Islander leaders in far north Queensland are seeking urgent talks with the Australian government because they are incredibly nervous about China's plan to build a $200 million fishery industrial park on PNG's Western Province. The proposed fishery is just 5 kilometres to Australia's Saibai Island. Joining me now to talk about Australia's deepening issues with the economic superpower that is China is Senator Jim Molan. Senator, thanks for your time. What can be done about this enormous fishery being built?
Rita, good evening. I think a lot can be done about it, but we don't want to be silly about it. I think the first thing that we should be doing is putting pressure on the PNG government to make sure that they know exactly the purpose of this particular facility. It's not going to be built fast. I have a belief that this is just another way of China playing with us. And it works into what's going on at the moment. It works into the way that what a lot of people call the grey zone conflict. A grey zone conflict is a conflict that exists between normal competition and actual conflict. And it's that grey zone that I think we're in at the moment. But I don't think we should overreact in the first instance. We should talk to PNG and say, do you know what you're doing getting into this? I mean, we give you $500 million a year, and let's make sure that you know what you're doing. In the worst case, should they build it, and should we find out that it has nothing to do with fishing, then in an extreme situation, we could deal with it.
Now, there have been reports that the Five Eyes partners at Australia, New Zealand, UK, US and Canada, they're discussing strategies to respond to the threat China poses and to come together to impose trade and economic sanctions themselves against China when they put tariffs or bans on our products. Can we rely on our Five Eyes partners to stand with us throughout this conflict?
Brenda, I think we can. Several months ago, you might remember that for the first time, we started using the Five Eyes organisation, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Britain and Australia. We started using what is essentially an intelligence organisation. We started using it for things such as economic talks. And I think this is a natural development. The first line of our defence of freedom and liberalism in the Indo-Pacific region is going to be Five Eyes and our alliances. It's not just Five Eyes, though. It's got to be Five Eyes plus the Quad plus whoever we can pick up in Southeast Asia that might have a fear, a healthy apprehension, a healthy concern with the Chinese. For example, Vietnam. For example, Indonesia. So Five Eyes is the basis of it. We work extraordinarily well together and we are equal partners in that. But if we're going to the only thing that worries me about putting these alliances together, we must do them, they're our first line of defence, is that all of a sudden we start thinking, well, we'll hide behind the alliance instead of being a part of it. We've done that for 75 years in relation to the American alliance. And I wouldn't like us to see, well, we don't have to do anything. We're now part of a big alliance. We need to be independently strong. We need to be self-reliant, and then we can contribute healthily to any alliance that may arise.
Are we big enough to be independently strong and self-reliant? Is our size always going to be too much of a disadvantage?
No, I don't think so, Rita. I've just finished a 6-part podcast, which is on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, and each of those podcasts is 20 minutes long. The second last one is Australia as a regional economic and military superpower. I say to myself, if Israel can exist and become much more secure now than it was in 1948. Having fought any number of successful wars with a total population of 6 million Jews and 2 million Arabs, with an army which goes into the field in 3 days with 400,000 people. If we are serious, then of course we can defend ourselves and we can be self-reliant. At the moment, we elect not to. I would encourage your viewers, because many Australians hold that view, I would encourage your viewers to listen to these podcasts and take them seriously. We can no longer depend on the United States to come and rescue all its allies the way that it has over the last 75 years. The American military is 30 to 50% weaker than it was at the end of the Cold War, Rita, and this is something we've got to get into our brain and never forget.
Yeah, that Israel comparison, that is a very good one when you think about what they face and what they can achieve, being far smaller than we are. Now, today, Mark Weinberg was announced as the special investigator who will be looking into the alleged war crimes. What can you tell us about what's going to happen there? What will his next steps be?
Well, I can only say that I've been made aware of the press release that Peter Dutton put out. And in my view, what's got to happen now is a long period of absolute quietness. There's been so much emotion and so much media beat up on this issue that we've got to keep our mouths shut and let these people get on with the job. It's not fair on the families, it's not fair on the military, and it's not fair on this process for us to be knocking ourselves out and double guessing and triple guessing these good people as they go about it. These are, from my knowledge of these people, they can ensure that the legal process goes ahead. They can ensure that people are considered innocent until found otherwise. They can ensure that the Brereton report is examined and that good brief, they either dismiss the possible charges or good briefs of evidence are made. So, Rita, I reckon now we should let them do their job, and I personally will not be making any further comment on it.
But there has been so much politics involved in this issue from both sides. There's been the issue of collective guilt being applied, which a lot of people are uncomfortable with, even people who do want to have a thorough investigation and have people held accountable if indeed they did do anything wrong. Are you confident that this investigation is going to be free of those political games and we're not going to have leaks every second day?
I am, Rita. I am very confident that will occur. Looking at it from the inside of the government, I am very confident.
Now, there's been renewed pressure on the Scott Morrison government to adopt a net zero carbon emissions target by 2050. How likely is that? And is there pressure from within the party to adopt the target, given the number of small L Liberals who keep getting pre-selected? There's a green tinge to the Liberal Party, certainly. Do you think this is something that's going to happen in the next or during this term?
Rita, I've only seen a few of our members in the party room come out and make those statements, and those are the statements that they made have been made in other areas as well. I don't think there is a very, very strong movement out there. I thought Paul Kelly's article was absolutely brilliant, but it comes down to the fact, do you want to run a country making pointless statements to achieve things in a time which can never be assessed? And who knows how many governments, how many changes of governments, the development of technology. As a climate change sceptic, but a believer in climate change, a climate change sceptic as to the models that have been forced on us, not just in climate change, but also on COVID, which have been totally and absolutely wrong. I will maintain my scepticism, but I've got to say, I reckon that the policy that we have, which is Paris, which is technology, the technology investment roadmap, which is very, very good, and Labor and the Greens deny that it exists, and that'll bring them undone. Joel Fitzgibbon is giving a very important speech tonight, and I'll be very interested to see exactly what he comes out and says. I don't want him to be too successful. I'd rather the Labor Party tear themselves to bits. But if you've got all of those things coming up, if you're putting money into a second cross-back straight link, the Marinus link, if you go battery of a nation, if you go Snowy 2.0, and someone was that's right, Joel Fitzgibbon was saying that he doesn't believe that we will meet our targets. Well, I love Joel. He does marvellous things. He's totally wrong on that. We are so far ahead of our target, 26 to 28% by 2030. It's not funny. we are doing things. We're the only ones with a target, and we are certainly the only
Jim,
ones.
so you are
with a plan.
saying it's not going to happen. It's not. This Scott Morrison government is not going to commit to a zero net emission.
I could be wrong, but I just don't think so.
You're never wrong, Jim. I have faith in you.
Thanks, Rita.
Jim Molan, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Lovely to talk, and happy Christmas to you all.
You too.